Okay, guys, so welcome to our follow-up to the last webinar on OpenShift. We had some issues with NetApp Shift, and we had some issues with the migration toolkit for virtualization, which are the two principal routes you would ingest virtual machines into OpenShift. I've since spoken to the product manager at NetApp, and we've managed to sort the one issue, and we had a bug acknowledged within OCP through premium support with Red Hat, and we've also fixed the MTB issue. So we're in a good situation. Everything's working. Everything's been tested. So today's a demo just for those two bits. So I'm going to start by showing you what we're going to be migrating. We have a VMware environment, which I'll pull up in a second. I'm just logging into it. And the VMware environment has a number of virtual machines on it, which we're going to migrate with the different methods. So here is our virtual machine environment. We have 3 virtual machines. We have a Red Hat 10 virtual machine. We have a Windows 2022 virtual machine and a 2025 virtual machine. So a broad set of applications and operating systems. Let me turn these all on. The first thing we need to know is that on the source virtual machine, which if we look at, let's look at the Red Hat one first. So he's running in this DSO1 data store. So I'm just going to have a look in him. Just going to have a look in his folder. We need to make sure that there are some files in there because we've enabled change block tracking. So we're looking for the CKT files here. So here's your VMDK. Here's the change block tracking file, which gets created when you enable change block tracking. To do that within the VM under advanced parameters, we have enabled here CTK enabled true. And then this virtual machine only has one disk. So on that one SCSI 0 disk, this is enabled. Once you turn the VM on, you then get those check files. I mean, you just need to make sure that's working before you run the tool. So I'm going to start with NetApp Shift. So here is a NetApp Shift console. So it's a piece of software you install on a Windows box virtual machine. We've put it on a target environment. Ours happens to be on Hyper-V. You could install it directly as a virtual machine into OpenShift. I've just been, as you know, within these webinar series, I've been using so many different hypervisors. I ended up putting it in Hyper-V. So you install the tool and you get this nice web interface, which has a dashboard of the different elements in it. The main thing we want to be adding, which I've already pre-added, is the source environment, which is here. So vCenters, you can see I've got an on-premise vCenter, and I can see the URL. And if I click on this view VM list, it's seeing all the virtual machines that reside in that environment. I've also got OCP, so OpenShift Container Platform. That's been added. You add it by pointing OpenShift at the Kube API or the Kubernetes API, and you give it a kube config file. Kube config file is basically an authentication constraint. It's a file which contains authentication, which in this case uses a cluster-admin role binding, which is very, it's very open. It's just a lab, right? So I've just given it complete cluster access at this point. You can see I can see certain things. I can see network maps, storage maps. There's bits and pieces it's discovered. Essentially, once you add it, it goes and discovers the environment. You can see I've got projects and storage classes and networks and stuff. You have resource groups, and resource groups for ACP, you wouldn't really use them. You can, but it's more of a legacy migration method. The better way to do it is to integrate NetApp Shift with MTV. So MTV is the Red Hat OpenShift migration tool. This thing here, migration or virtualization. You would have seen it in the other labs, in the other demos that we did, because it supports VMware. Sorry, you'd have seen it in the prior failed demo, but now we've fixed it, we've patched it, and we've got a good working platform. That works by adding, similar to Shift, you add in the endpoint address. If I click on this guy, you can see I've added in credentials. I've used administrator at vSphere local. And I can see virtual machines, and I've got ESX hosts. You can configure which network you want the transfer to happen on. It just so happens that the default network is the network I want, but you could attach it to a particular VLAN if you wanted to. Yeah, so I've got MTV set up. MTV has this concept of project plans. You can see here I've done some in the past. I've done both warm and cold migration plans. And what the migration plan does is it sets up all the metadata for the migration job. So what's the source machine? Where do you want it to go? What project? What do you want the network to attach as? That kind of stuff. So once you set it up in here, you then automatically attach it to, just going to end this slideshow, automatically attach it to MTV. So if you go into Blueprints, create new using MTV plan. So that's interesting. So I can basically link Shift to MTV. So the main config you can prep in here, you can pre-allocate all of these migration jobs with your different phases and groupings of virtual machines. And then within Shift, you can go and select those MTV plans. So I do have one I did earlier. I think I called it Shift. So here, NetApp Shift test. So if I go and look at this one, I'm going to migrate Shift demo 01, which is this guy, this virtual machine here. And in mappings, you'll see the mappings that I created. Oh, I can't see them because it's actually complete because I ran it. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete it, recreate it, and you can see it fresh. Then it's probably the best thing. Let's delete it. So create a plan, give it a name. I'm going to call it Shift Test. Project plan's just where that's where the MTV components are. So that's fine. It's not where the VM is going to live. It's just where the components are. Where am I taking it from? I'm taking it from VMware. Where am I putting it to? I'm putting it to OpenShift, which is just called host. Where do I want it to go? I'm going to put it in demo to tenant B because I know that that's a good place to go. It could be any tenant, it could be any project. Next, I want my virtual machines. So I'm going to go and grab. I want to sort of Shift in there, don't I? Shift and go next. And then how do I want to map the network? So obviously the network on the source is a particular virtual machine in a particular VLAN. I'm going to map it to tenant B VLAN 11. That's fine. Next, how do I want to map the storage? So at the moment, the storage is here. I can go and check that. Yeah. So DC Shift migration 02. Yep, that's correct. And I'm going to put it into this storage class. So one of the requirements for Shift to work is that the NetApp SVM that you're using to store the data on source and target. So on source, wherever the volume lives, whichever SVM the volume lives, on target in OpenShift, wherever you've configured the storage class to talk to. Now, in my case, I've configured it via OpenShift, so via NetApp Trident, and I can go and show you that. So within Trident, I configured an additional storage class for Shift. So here's my back end. So this is Trident backend. You can see I'm talking to these IP addresses here. This is the management IP of the cluster. These are the credentials. Credentials are actually stored in secrets securely in the background, but so the password isn't here. But these are the details I've got. I'm using this export policy and this SVM. So this SVM is the same as the source SVM. I then create a storage class which links off using a NAS backend. So between these two, not that one, that's something else. Between that object and this object, they are it's all the configuration basically to make that storage class work. Trident will then pick it up and go and attach to the NetApp. So I'm picking that one. Next, this is arbitrary. When you're using Shift to do migrations and you attach it, it actually does a proprietary migration type. They changed this to a proprietary migration type. So it doesn't matter which one you pick. It really doesn't matter when they say cold. I can preserve static IPs, which is great. So I'm going to go next. Do I want to retain the power state? Yeah, that's fine. You can enable pre-hook migrations using Ansible. So you can do pre and post Ansible playbooks, which are very powerful. You can do a lot of things with Ansible. If you've never used it before, it's worth having a look. And create a plan. So my plan is sort of sitting there. Eventually, I'm going to have a look at it. There you go. It's ready to start, but I do not want to start it because I'm using Shift. So I have a kind of plan. Let's just call it like a bucket. If I go back to mappings, you can see here, these are my mappings that I couldn't see before because it had finished, but these are my mappings, which I can edit if I want to. And you can see the virtual machine resources, the virtual machine, etc., ready to go. Right, so now I go back to NetApp Shift, and bear in mind, I've already discovered the infrastructure. This Shift product is aware of everything, so that's a prereq. I then go to blueprints, create new blueprint using MTV plan, and I just call it that. I'm going to call it demo tenant B, just so it's really clear. So source site VMware and destination site OCP, and then migration plan. So migration test tenant B, no, that one there. So that's now erroring. Do you know why that's erroring? Because I deleted it and recreated it. So that's a good thing to do. So let me go and discover the site, and I'll let this run. It needs to update the ID. It's the same project, it's the same MTV plan name, but it's got different IDs because I deleted it and recreated it. So there you go, demos are good. Just let that whir away. It'll take a little bit of time. There we go. You can see it's just discovered the projects, the namespaces, the backends that I showed you with Trident, the storage classes. It's now going to go and grab and update the MTV plan, which is finished already. So that's good. So if I go back to what I was doing, demo tenant B, VMware to OCP migration plan. Now it should let me pick it. Yes, it now lets me pick it because it's been updated. Go continue. It's already selected the resource group. So it's basically in the background, it's dynamically built a resource group based on what was in the MTV plan. So it already knows the mappings because I've already configured them in OpenShift. So I can go next. It already knows all this. This is the stuff I put into MTV. And here I can change, so I can import it as raw, and I can do a direct import or a clone and import and do a split clone. So that's NetApp proprietary language, essentially. What that means is that it's going to clone the source system, do a flex clone, a very fast flex clone. And at the end, if I tick this box at the end of the client flex clone, it will delink or unlink the flex clone volume from its prior parent, which means it's a unique volume and it doesn't have any heavy dependency. It's probably worth doing, just so it's a separate volume. If you don't unlink and split things, then you end up with, you can imagine you end up with like 100 volumes all linked to a parent. And if that parent had a problem, you actually affect all 100. Now, there shouldn't be a problem in that way because the system is designed for that level of complexity. But yeah, there's an argument to say keep it simple and just split them. So I'll split them and I'll go continue. And I don't need to schedule it, but you can schedule it. You can put a date in. That's fine. So I'm going to go create blueprint. And I now have a blueprint here, ready to go. So I'm just going to click the three little dot thing and do migrate. It's now warning me, saying, oh no, you need VM to be powered off. Fair enough. It's going to do a flex clone in the background on the storage, and it wants to make sure that the storage is consistent. So the VM needs to be off. If you're running any databases or any kind of like heavy I/O, you may not get a consistent file system or database structure when you recover that virtual machine. So that makes sense. So let's turn this off. Looks like he's gone. Yeah, he's gone. He's now off. Let's go back to my shift and try the migrate again. And off it goes. A look at here. Snapshots. It's just created a snapshot. Can watch it go. It's now doing the clone operation. So it's cloning the volume. Tells me what my clone source is there. So you could open your NetApp console and have a look at that point. There you go, it's done. It's now converting. So it's actually doing the disk conversion at this point. As you know, VMware runs VMDKs. Red Hat is KVM based. So it's actually raw format for the PVC. You probably remember with the other webinars we did. If you haven't seen them, go back and watch them on our website. QCOW is generally the format, or QCOW2 is generally the format for KVM. Who is Red Hat with PVCs? It's actually raw. Well, that's spinning away. I'll go into here. See, this MTV plan looks untouched at the moment. What's going to happen is the API of or the code within Shift is going to talk to the API of OpenShift and change this state as it goes through. So it's done. Okay, so it's moved on, so it's converted it, cleaned up. It's now updating the disk permission. It does some chmod permission changes, so it works well. You go patching migration plan. So now it's talking. It's already done it. It's fast. So if I look at that now, that should that should eventually update. And here we go. So it started to, part of this process here is it's using this proprietary method. It's not warm or cold. It's a proprietary method, or a non, you can't see the method within the GUI or anything. It's only available via the API essentially. So other vendors can use it. So it's probably the wrong word, proprietary, but you get what I mean. It's a non-standard API only migration method. So let's have a look what it's doing over here. So here we go. So it started on here. We're going to here, going to here, going to here. So at this point, the migration plan's running. And normally with MTV, which we'll see shortly, because I'm going to also demo a vanilla MTV migration, one in cold mode, one in hot mode. Normally, it would convert the disk as part of its process, but what Shift has done in the background is it's already added, it's kind of like cached or pre-added a PVC with the correct data in. So when an MTV plan comes to do the data conversion, it's already done. That's the, kind of speeds it up. We basically got to wait for that to get to that point now. Can look at logs and stuff. There's lots and lots and lots of logs. It's crazy. Verbo's login. You're kind of looking at it going, what the hell does that mean? To be honest, it's you can understand some of it. A lot of it's just like super verbos. If you have problems with it, it's useful for the support teams to be able to debug it. So they seem to love their verbose login, which is cool. We're just going to wait for that to finish. Once that's finished, I don't know whether it's done it. Let's go and have a look. Let's go and look how far it's got. Because we're expecting a virtual machine to appear here. But in order for that to happen, Shift has got an MTV and Shift has got to craft a virtual machine object and a data volume object and some other objects, which ultimately get attached into here. Let's get back and have a look. While it's doing that, I'm going to turn it on. To assign itself to worker 0, which is good. And it's now beating. So that is good. We have a working system. So there goes NetApp Shift. Obviously, you could group much larger sets of virtual machines. It looks like the majority of the process was the interaction between Shift and MTV. But yeah, you could certainly do much larger grouping of virtual machines than just one, all in the same plan essentially. I mean, it's how you do it. You break out your VMs into different pots of migration or phases of migration. So that is Shift. It's going to go away. No, it's done it. Just finished the clone split. So that's a complete finish. So if I go back, it should show me. I'm hoping it will. Job monitoring. Log. Well, you'd have to, I don't see a date timestamp of start and finish, but you can see there 5 minutes, 3 minutes, that's 8, 9, 10, 10 and maybe 11 minutes to do that, 90 gig VM. And that's it, we're done. So from this point of view now within the blueprints, you can see the active site is on the destination, so the migration is finished and complete. If I go back to MTV, then if I go back to MTV itself, my migration plan is complete and finished, and we're good. So the VM is just rebooting and booting and sorting itself out. But ultimately, we have a working system. So the next thing we want to demo is, rather than using Shift, which you'd use if you have a NetApp, let's not do that. Let's just do a vanilla migration using virtualization, Red Hat virtualization toolkit. So that's this thing without Shift. And I have done some prior migrations. You can see here I've done warm and cold. So let me copy this name. I'm going to create another migration. So migration test 02 Red Hat warm demo tenant B. Fine. I'm going to migrate this guy, demo tenant B. If I look in my webinar, I've got my Red Hat guy. Next. I'm going to create a mapping to VLAN 11 in demo tenant B. And storage wise, I can use anything here. I'm going to use, it doesn't really matter. Let's use this guy. That's fine. Now that in this example, my source SVM is now different to my target SVM, just so you know. That's fine, completely ordinary. It's got nothing to do with NetApp at this point. This is just whatever's on the source to whatever's on the target. It could be completely different arrays. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to start with the cold migration, just so you can see it. And we're going to leave all that default. And here's our plan spinning up. In the background, it's going to create some containers and some bits and pieces, and this plan will kick off and we can click start. So at the moment, I've done a cold migration of this guy, Red Hat guy. So let's start him and see what happens. I'll go back to here. He's already been shut down. That's fine. He's now initializing and going to start spawning. In fact, you can see it's already created some new PVCs here, which are bound. So we've got our new data set. It's obviously empty now at this point, and it's starting the migration. Yep, it's starting the migration. Brilliant. While that's going, to save a bit of time, I'm going to do this one as well, recreate this one. This is now warm in parallel. I'm going to migrate Windows 2025 guy. So that is this guy, but warm, not cold. Next. I'm going to put him on our lovely VN 11 again. And we're going to put him on the snap mirrored storage class. And I'm going to do warm, leave all that as it is, and create it. Let that run. And in the meantime, I'm going to click start. So we've got 2 running. I go back to here. Let's watch what happens. So there's my warm VM. So it's actually going to do a snapshot. So it can do change block tracking. That's been initiated by the plan. Go back to the plans generally. Here they all are. Just for convenience, I'm going to archive these plans so they're not in the way. So there's our two plans that are running, minus the ones that have completed. I was to go to the, let's have a look, see, snapshot's still being created. I haven't got the fastest system in the world, so the timings on this, I would, yeah, wouldn't recommend you use them as a benchmark. Well, unless you have spinny SAS disks. Like I say, it's 2650, and it's on old B series blades. Blades are B200 M4s, I think. I'm sorry, the M3s, they're really old. So don't use our lab as a benchmark for timings. It gives you a sense, right? So waiting for that snapshot to complete still. This one's moving away, so I'm going to go back to. Oh, look, I put them both as warm. That's actually cold. I've got the wrong name in it, but there you go. Go back to the cold guy and click on the status. He's gone quite far through now, so I imagine. Let's look at the logs. Yeah, you can actually watch it doing the V2V migration. So it's using a Vert V2V tool to migrate. It's an open source tool to take it from VMDK into raw format. Cool. And the warm on is still doing this. Is that actually real? Hang on. You know when sometimes this hangs at the bottom? Let me just see. Are you real? No, you're not real. That was a ghost entry, I'm sure. I know it is real. It's come there. It's done. It's got to 100%. So that's gonna get cracking now. Let's have a look. Image conversion done. Completed this transfer task. This is near the end now. See one of these tasks here, virtual machine creation. So that's when it actually spawns the virtual machine inside OVE. Well, that one's going. Let's have a look at this one. Okay. So my cold demo, labeled as warm, has completed. Great. So if we go into virtualization, this was the Red Hat one. Let's have a look at it. I'm in. I don't know what the login is. Hang on. Don't know. It's up. I can't remember. That's a successful conversion, despite me not knowing the login. You have to look it up. Well, either way, it's booted, which is great. And let's go back to the last one. How far is that getting on? Let's have a look. Where are you? It says it's 10% through. Okay. So the first one, there you go. There's a useful thing. So started at 1421. And completed at 1434. So that's pretty quick. It's kind of interestingly on par with NetApp Shift. 1421, yeah, it's like 13 minutes, isn't it? It's almost identical to Shift. Obviously, if the storage was bigger and it was more complex, I think Shift would win by a long shot because it's doing flex clones. Plus, we did the split at the end, so you could do the split after. It's probably better to do the split after, huh? Anyway, it's fast. It's pretty good. The VM was it says there 32, so it's a 90 gig disk, and it's about 32 gig used in about 10 minutes with the conversion, all automatic through the tool set. It's pretty useful. So this is just going to take some time. It is within the provider. There's two general ways of doing it. Right, you can use this image here, this BDDK, the virtualization development kit. This development kit, I think, virtualization disk development kit. I put that on my public Docker, which Broadcom won't like me for. You normally put it on a private container registry, Harbor or Key, Red Hat Key. Could be anywhere as long as it's container registry. And it uses that to migrate the VM hot and fast. If you don't put this on, then it takes longer. Where are we now? Oh, looks like it got further because it's closed the disk. Okay, have a look. Okay, so it's now finished disk transfer, and it went into the cutover phase. So it has performed a shutdown with the VM, which is already shut down. Now it's going to finish the last bits. Okay, so it's now completed that. And if we have a look, virtualization. There's our virtual machine. I think it's started. Does that look? Yeah, it's decided to work as 0, and it is turned it on. So while it's doing that? So the source had its snapshot removed, so it cleaned up after itself. And here you go, it's booting. There you go. So that concludes the migration options for OpenShift virtualization or OCP if you've got the bigger product. Hopefully this was useful. Please reach out to us if you need any migration assistance or consultancy. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.